All right, we'll go ahead and get started. So thanks for joining our Acumatica year-end closing webinar. It's maybe been a year since we did it, but there's been a lot of fun changes, obviously, with the 1099 printing mainly. So just a little bit of housekeeping. So if you have any questions, type them into the chat window, please, in the Zoom window. But then, after I'm done speaking, if there's any questions, hopefully Betsy can open it up and we'll, you guys can attack me or whatever you need to do to get your questions answered. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of walk through the process. And like I said, if you have any questions while we're going along, just go ahead and type them in the chat window. Let me know if you can't see my screen or whatever's going on. So just thanks again for joining. It is being recorded, so we can put it on our website, or I think you'll get an email with a link to it later if you really want to watch it again. And then the document that I'm using today that you'll see, that will be out on our website later today. So again, thanks, and we'll jump right in. Hopefully you should see Acumatica year in closing. Again, this is the document that we've done this before. I started it a number of years ago, just kind of updated it for this year because a couple of things have changed. So we'll kind of roll through this, and then I'll jump into my Acumatica and walk through some things and any questions. For the most part, it's pretty easy, straightforward, especially with Acumatica. Again, the main thing is kind of the 1099 stuff and what to do if that's all messed up, and how to go ahead and close the periods and what happens when you close and those kind of things. I know some of you might know, you've been doing this before and running Acumatica for a couple of years. Some of you might be a little bit new, so we'll walk through it. Okay, so generally speaking, order of operations for closing a period. I'm gonna stop my video here for a sec so you guys aren't distracted naturally. So closing a period, and it can be any time throughout the year when you can choose to close a period. So, you might run your allocations, and there's a way to do that in Acumatica. Generate any recurring documents, AP, AR, GL, whatever. I don't think any of us need to worry about foreign currency, but you could manipulate that. Manipulate's the wrong word. You could do the revaluation process to make sure things are accurate, and then run a trial balance, where that's on a subledger or from the GL itself, and matching that up, what's in the GL, what's in the subledger. So in Acumatica, there are up to five subledgers that either you can close individually, like you can close the AR ledger and the period for AR. You can close AP, cash, whatever. And then the other two, if you have them, would be inventory and fixed assets. Or you don't have to close them individually. Just when you close a period in the GL, if those subledgers are not closed, it will close those for you. And we'll kind of see that in action a little bit. The main thing to know is if you're going to try and close one of these, there can be no documents with a released, unposted, balanced, or on hold status in that relevant period. So if you're going to close, in this case, let's say you closed November recently or will be soon, you need to make sure that all your GL entries or AP bills or whatever that should have been in November are in November before you can actually, close the period. Further, if you were to close November, any periods that were prior to November would automatically be closed as well, or you just do it one period at a time. We have customers that do both. And then when you close a period in GL, if you have the option for generate auto reversing entries on period closing on any GL transactions that are set up to be auto reversing, when you close that period, those entries get made at that point into, the next month. And then last thing, never close the last activated financial period. You got to activate one or more before you close another period so that, like we just said, if something happens, things get migrated to the next period. So, alrighty. So we'll kind of walk through AP because generally speaking, that's everybody's biggest part of closing besides the year-end GL. Okay, so we're going to jump right into the 1099 stuff. As you are aware, there have been some changes to the 1099 forms, mainly the non-employee compensation NEC form, but also like little tweaks to the miscellaneous form. And if you need to, there's a delightful blog entry out here on Acumatica's community by kind of their lead product, management head, Doug. And it has recently been updated. So I have the same information in here in the document, but if you just Google like Acumatica 1099 NEC 2021, you'll find this thing. But short answer, we're going to two options. One, for the forms, we either need to make sure that your system is updated to one of these versions, and I believe these are out now, anything with the blue link here, so we can make sure that your system's updated with the appropriate version, or at this time, we have report versions that work for 2021 R2 and 2021 R1 that we've just kind of tweaked the form to make it work. And I haven't done 2020 R2 yet, but we can get that one up as well. So that works for paper forms. If you're e-filing, as you can see here, the e-filing changes are planned in these updates that are coming out. Well, one should be coming out today for 2020 R2, and then 22nd for 2021 R1, and so on and so forth. You can read. Main thing to know is if you do e-filing, I'd love to. I don't even know if can you guys raise your hand in here and I can see it. If not, don't worry about it. But I know at least one person on here will. Hey, thank you, April. I appreciate that. So at least two people, probably three, need to do the e-filing, which is good to know. So we'll just we'll work with you guys that when these releases come out, we'll make sure that your system gets upgraded appropriately. I don't think we should have any issues. It's not like a big major version upgrade, so it should be fine and dandy. All right, so same thing in here, right? There's small tweaks to the MIS form, small tweaks, or I should say a bigger tweak to the NEC form. They went from like 2 up to 3 up. And so that was the bigger one for NEC. So that was kind of fun. So 1099s, make sure that you have all the transactions in for 2021. Optionally, you can use the 1099 year summary window to scroll through all the vendors and kind of what's showing to make sure that everything looks correct. And then once you verify everything's correct, you can print the forms and then optionally e-file. And then after you do that stuff, the printing of the forms and e-filing, you can close the year. Main thing to note is once a 1099 year is closed, is that right? I might have to verify that. Previously, the e-files and the forms could not be reprinted, but I would like to verify that because I feel like I've done that before. I feel like it's changed. All right, so let's jump into correcting amounts and making sure that's accurate. So maybe, and we'll kind of cover, I guess, two scenarios mainly. Let's say you had a vendor in the system and for whatever reason a bill was entered and paid, but the 1099 box was incorrect, or it wasn't even entered. It was not even on there in the bill and it should have been for whatever reason. So there's a way to correct that. And then also if you need to change the amount, it's a little bit more of a process, right? You basically be voiding the check, and then reversing the bill, and then re-entering it with the correct amounts and the correct 1099 amounts. The other option is, and let's see if that's in here. That's a release bill. Cool. You might have a vendor that is incorrectly marked 1099 or not marked 1099. So we'd want to change that correctly. So let's jump in here. Hopefully you guys see my Acumatica. And so we'll jump in. We have payables. So there are under 1099 reporting, you should see all of these options, right? So you have the forms, create the U-file, see your history, your summary, your details. So if I look at a summary, 1099 year summary, should run a report, and we'll say for, I have a 2021 year. I guess I haven't closed 2020. Look at that, I did nothing. All right, so I don't need a vendor. Let's see if anything in 2019. Nope. Cool. Temp vendor did $9,000 in 2019. So again, right from this window, 1099 vendor history, you can scroll through, you can run the report. Oh, that was NEC. Okay. Travel. That should be running for everything. Okay, cool. So easy way to do that. And then if you need to change anything, what you can do, even if the bill's been released, but it was in the incorrect box or the vendor, and let me look up the list of vendors. Generally speaking, if you're on your list of vendors, if you hit your little grid, you can select 1099 vendor and move that over to the column. And that's how I have this, and I can easily filter that and say, oh, show me ones where it's true. Now you have an easy list of 1099 vendors. You can save that if you want and just call it, make it shared. And now you have a option up here. So make sure on your vendors that they are marked as a 1099 vendor and the correct box. So those are the main two things on your vendor. Most of you guys hopefully probably know that. Hopefully we taught you that. If not, and let's say you should have had a vendor that should have been marked 1099 for the year but was not, then you need to go into that vendor, and let me just kind of jump back and false. Just do one. Maybe it was one for RTAC. And let's say they were, and let's say they're not employee. Okay, so now I just marked RTAC as 1099. So let me go and do an inquiry. And we'll show all the documents. Awesome. So here's one for $705 for this particular bill that has been done in 2021. And when we first did it, there was no 1099 amount, but we need to change that. So even though the bill has a status of closed, and you can do this for closed bills and open bills, you can change the 1099 box and put it in the correct one, save that, and now that vendor has a 1099 amount in 2021. I can do the same thing for, I don't even think 2018 is open or closed, sorry, in the 1099 year. This demo data leaves everything open, so. And again, based on, even if your vendor is 1099, maybe some things should be 1099able and some should not. So again, that's definable by line item. So that has been defined there. So now if I look back, payables, if I look at 1099 year summary, and let's go with 2018 because I just changed something. So now you see, hey, look at that. The RTAC, the vendor that I just changed to be 1099 and then edited those invoices, now show up on my 1099 report. So it's not too bad. Just you just have to remember that if you want or need to fix a vendor, make sure they're marked correctly. And then you do need to just run through, and the easiest way to do that is probably just go to an inquiry and say vendor details. And like we did for RTAC, do show all documents. And you can limit it by a year, just doing filters down here on the grid. But then edit the bill, and you can easily get to it from here, and then change your 1099 box appropriately. You just have to walk through that for every invoice for that vendor if they have been marked one way or another incorrectly. Awesome. All right. So back to AP land for closing. Again, you guys probably know a lot of this, but you can run an AP balance by GL account right from the menu in Acumatica, and that will show you your AP aging by whatever GL account you have. That's a good way to make sure that you're balanced. So if you're not balanced, which is more rare with this system than some others, you can figure out what's going on and why that matches. In my example, it does match 428, 428. Make sure there's no open documents for the period. And there's a couple of ways to do that. And then when you're ready, if you're doing it just in AP, go to processes, close financial periods. So that would be payables, processes, close financial periods. And what it will allow you to close is the earliest open periods. So here, if I select on January, this would close January of 2017. And on this period, if I hit unreleased documents, this is a super convenient, easy way to say, oh, okay, look at that. There are no unreleased documents. So that's cool. However, if I were to jump down here and say, oh, you know what, I'm going to close September, but none of these others have been closed, you'll see it automatically selects them. And again, I can hit unreleased documents and see if there's anything out there. Or I can clear everything or select everything and just hit process all. That's going to close the whole year in payables only. Like I said, optionally, you don't have to close it here because when you close the GL periods, it'll close it now for you. That used to not be the case. All righty. So AR, same thing, right? Make sure your balance matches, and you can optionally run closed financial periods in AR, run the unreleased documents, and away you go. Cash management, I'm kind of running through this quickly. Same thing. Make sure there's no open documents. Make sure any payments or checks that need to be done in that period are done, and close it. Again, this whole close process in the subledger is optional, because if it's closed in the GL, it will automatically close it in the subledger. Inventory, I'd recommend, again, the closing of the period's optional, but do run and make sure you've got valid inventory balances and that kind of fun stuff. Same thing for fixed assets. It's optional, but do run your depreciation for the period. Make sure that's all good, and then you can close it in fixed assets. So then we get to the GL, which is the main ball of wax here. So they have changed the name of the form. It used to be closed financial periods, but now it's in managed financial periods, where you can do other things. And then one big note here, you can post to the last period of a closed year, and the closed year account balances will be updated, as well as any open year beginning balances. And that is if you have the allow posting to closed periods checkbox selected. So that is in, let's see, finance, preferences. Yes, I can review. There's a magical checkbox that says, let's change it now, restrict access to closed periods. So if this is unchecked now, and yours will look dissimilar. If it's unchecked, I can post to closed periods, especially if a closed year, the last period of a closed year. Okay. Okay, so GL, run your trial balance, run any financials you want to run, make sure they all look good. Again, you can drill down, make any adjusting journal entries, or a lot of times, let's say you want to close, let's say the end of 2021, have everything roll over to 2022. That's great. You can do that, and you can still, as long as that checkbox is set correctly, you can still post any adjusting entries that you might need to do in January, February, March, whatever, after an audit. You can still post those journal entries to, in my case, 12/20/21, that period, and it will adjust 2021 balances. It'll roll things forward as needed and update any asset or liability accounts, and retained earnings as necessary. So again, to close a period in GL, we'll walk through that. But what you'll see in the GL area is it will reflect or let you close anything in these subledgers kind of automatically. So let's jump in and see that. So I have closed periods turned off. So if I go to finance, manage financial periods, I'm going to close, and it will jump to my earliest non-closed periods. And you can see here that in April, it's been closed in all the subledgers, but has not been closed in the GL. So if I just want to close all of 2016, I just hit process all, and it will say, hey, your periods are going to be closed in AR, cash, fixed assets, inventory, and GL. Okay, I'm good. Ooh, I have an error. Look at that. There is one unposted batch in 04/2016. So let's select here and go to unposted documents. You can see the system working in action. So I have a GL batch from 4. All right, so I can click on that batch, and that's sweet. On hold, take this guy off hold, does not match. You know what? I don't even want to post it. How can I correct it? I'll make something the same. That's a big number though, so I'm just gonna delete it to. Cool, that's even faster. Darwini. All right, let's jump back. We'll do a quick refresh. Nope, no unposted documents. Let's just process all of them. and now it's going to think and run through. Look at that magic. Okay, so now 2016 is closed. I pick my next year, and I can jump all the way through, but you kind of get the idea, I hope. So the main thing, before you were to do this, I should have jumped in there first. If you don't have a period open for the next year, it will yell at you. But to manage that, you're going to go to Finance, Master Financial Calendar. That has changed now. And make sure yours will probably be 2021, right? The sales demo company here in Acumatica has this magical adjustment period. So you would simply go to the new year, 2022, hit generate calendar if you have not done that already. And it will create the periods based on your settings here, probably 12 in most people's cases. And then you would open those, at least open up January of 2022 so that you can walk through that. So if I were going to show you an example, there's nothing in 2023, I would hit generate calendar. Okay, I'll just do 2023 and where that goes. But you'll notice they come over as inactive. So what you'd want to do is go to actions, open periods, and you'd at least want to open January. Your actions open, what period, what year, and now at least January is open. So remember, that's Finance, Master Financial Calendar, and you'll notice that now January of 23 is open. You just want to make sure that you have a 2022 and that at least January is open. I know some people keep like a rolling month or two open, and then everything else would stay closed. That's fine and dandy. Just make the whole year and walk through that. I believe I have that in the document. Alrighty. So that's the simple thing about closing the year end. One kind of last thing to check on your GL preferences is to make sure that the retained earnings account is correct. I have closed the year before, that's why mine's grayed out. If you have never closed the year, you can still change it, but that would really be it. Because at the end of the year, obviously, your retained earnings account gets updated, and it makes a adjusting journal entry to clear out all your income and expense accounts. And there's also that magical YTD net income account that you just saw there. This one, YTD net income account. That's a magical Acumatica account that keeps track of everything that happens throughout the year. So that gets updated anytime you do a transaction that hits an income or expense account. You cannot post anything to it directly. It's a magical kind of like holder account, mainly to kind of make reporting easy, which is kind of nice. But that's what that account does. So at the end of the year, this account gets zeroed out for the beginning of the next year. And then the last thing, that's just going through looking at the sub accounts and how things look for the end of the year. All right. So that's really it. So remember, make sure all your 1099 vendors are set correctly. And then make sure those transactions and stuff are identified properly in AP land. That's the big one. As far as updates, we'll work with you guys to make sure you're on the right version. And then if you just want the form, you don't care about e-filing, that's fine. We can just help you with the form. We have it down pretty well. It's a pretty, I don't know, it's pretty quick and easy. For those of you that e-file, we'll definitely make sure you're on the right version when those come out. And then everything else, just at the end of the year, make sure you have your next year period created, 2022. if you're on a calendar year, or maybe you've already got it created if you're on a fiscal year. And that's about it. Always reach out with questions. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see if we have any questions. We do have at least one. And then, I don't know, maybe we'll see if Betsy wants to open it up to people verbally asking questions. I'd be fine with that. All right. Can you change a bill that was incorrectly marked as 1099 to not be 1099? Well, let's find out. Excellent question. So payables, I'm going to go to my vendor details. That's my easy way. I'm going to pick a different vendor. I'll just do my project vendor. I know I just did one. Okay, so here's a check or a bill, sorry. So again, we're trying to see if we can mark something as not 1099 that was incorrectly marked as 1099. We're trying to undo a 1099. Okay, bill says it's open, has a 1099 box. Let's change that. I'm just gonna, like, if you notice, if you hit the drop down, you have to pick something, and I don't want to, so I'm just gonna, I hit like backspace, and I'm gonna tab off. And let's see if I save that, if that works. Okay, so that's empty. So now that should have gone away. We'll try one for another year that I know. Let's see if 2020 is one. We'll do another build just to make sure. Okay, so again, I'm just gonna kind of double click in there, backspace, so that it clears out it, save it. Oh, project is closed. That's a bummer. Figures. Internal 20. All right, let me open that project up real quick. Of course, I picked one tied to a project that's closed. Look at me. Internal 20. See if I can change it. I'll activate it. Let's see. I had a, there we are. So let's try saving it again. Okay. So no 1099 bucks. And how much was that? 776. All right. So let's run payables. Let's see. Let's go to your details, and we'll pick 2020 project vendor. So it had one for, that was it, the 970, but not the 776. So thanks for your question. Hopefully that's good. Betsy, I'm fine if you want to open it up to everybody and let them talk and ask. Otherwise, you can send them through the chat window.
If you have a question, just raise your hand and then I'll unmute you. Or if you want to unmute yourself, that's fine too.
Thank you. Otherwise, you get like 24 minutes back of your afternoon and you can go to lunch or something, or go home, or party, or start drinking. Otherwise, thanks for coming. And again, that the PDF will be out there. And if you have any questions, always reach out. Hopefully it was helpful. Again, the main thing is the 1099 stuff that probably most people have questions and concerns about. So thank you for that question. Anybody can ask anything if you like.
Looks like nobody wants to talk to you.
I think so.
All right, well then I guess we can wrap it up.
Yeah. So thanks again, and look for the PDF out on our website.
In the email.
And it'll be in the email. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Have a great afternoon, weekend, evening. All right. Bye, everybody.